Week 11 is in the books, so that means it's time to hit those waiver wires to find players that could add value to the back end of your rosters. And quick note, I will be referencing rostership percentages in this video, and those are coming from roster data from 1,700 Dynasty leagues on myfantasyleague.com. Basically a 50-50 split of one quarterback in Superflex, all with a minimum of 20-man rosters, so I'm not pulling these players out of nowhere. But it is possible that some or even all of these guys are already rostered in your leagues, perhaps even by you. But for the most part, there are hundreds of leagues out there where these guys are on waiver wires right now. First and foremost, I want to highlight a couple of players that are highly rostered, but not 100% rostered that I think should be. And that includes Taylor Heineke in Superflex League still, Samaje Perine, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Darius Slayton, and Logan Thomas. Again, all guys rostered in over 90% of Dynasty leagues out there, but not exactly 100%. So double check your waiver wires and immediately add these guys if they are available. All right, let's get things started because I have 5 players that you need to add from your Dynasty waiver wires this week. And first on the list is Bears running back Trestan Ebner. And to be honest, the time to pick up Ebner was actually last week, but if your league is one of the 10% where he's still available, I would be grabbing him right now. Despite turning in a lackluster performance behind David Montgomery this week with only 8 yards on 6 carries, he is the primary handcuff to Montgomery for at least 3 more weeks with Khalil Herbert on the IR. It is cuffing season in fantasy football now that we're getting to Thanksgiving and the holiday season, and you can't let anybody slip through the cracks of the waivers. Up next, we have Latavius Murray, and I'm actually shocked to see Murray at only 86% rostership right now, behind Trestan Ebner and like a bunch of other backup running backs. Murray has actually seen 14 plus carries in 3 out of 5 games since signing with Denver, averaging 12 PPR points per game in those 3 games. This is honestly Murray's backfield right now as he's pushed Melvin Gordon aside, and Chase Edmonds is basically a nothing, especially with the fact that he got hurt on Sunday. So Murray can no longer go unnoticed and should be seen as a solid flex play for the rest of the season, especially with a fairly soft schedule to end the year with matchups against Carolina this week, Baltimore, Arizona, and the Kansas City Chiefs twice. All fantastic matchups against running back. Murray needs to be added in every league out there right now. Next up, we have a pair of wide receivers who have both been seeing some sneaky volume in recent weeks, and that's Demarcus Robinson for the Baltimore Ravens and Randall Cobb for the Green Bay Packers. Now, fun fact, Demarcus Robinson has actually seen 21 targets over the Ravens' last 3 games, hauling in 16 of those for over 200 yards. He had a massive game actually this past week on Sunday with 128 yards on 9 receptions as Lamar Jackson's go-to wide receiver along with Mark Andrews. Devin Duvernay is essentially out of the picture right now with only 9 targets in the last 4 games, so Robinson should be relatively trustworthy as the Ravens wide receiver 1 to finish the season. Now, whether or not that means that he's actually cracking your starting lineup is entirely a different story, but he should be rostered in every Dynasty league moving forward. And then getting to Randall Cobb, he has totaled 19 targets over his last 2 complete healthy games, including a team-leading 6 for 73 receiving stat line on Thursday night. As long as this offense is without Romeo Doubs, Rodgers is going to need to rely on Allen Lazard, Christian Watson, and his ever-trustworthy companion Randall Cobb, which probably explains why he's seen so many targets recently when healthy. Like Robinson, I wouldn't be entirely thrilled to have to start Cobb in my lineup, but if push were to come to shove with injuries and more bye weeks coming up, he's a better option than a lot of other players right now and should be rostered for that specific reason. Now, the last specific player I want to highlight on today's list is Giants wide receiver Richie James, which makes me extremely sad because the only reason that he's on here is because Wan'Dale Robinson tore his ACL and is out for the remainder of the year, which means that the Giants are really just down to Darius Slayton and Richie James at the wide receiver position. Sorry, all offense taken actually to Kenny Golladay. I don't think it's a coincidence that James was producing decently to start the season when Wan'Dale was out, then became a backup when he was healthy, and then proceeded to be targeted 3 times and score a touchdown on the Giants' final drive without Wan'Dale Robinson on Sunday. He is the replacement for Wan'Dale in this offense, and that role has fantasy value in PPR leagues. In fact, he scored double-digit PPR points in 3 of the 4 games in which he's seen at least 3 targets this season, and that trend should continue with Robinson out for the remainder of the year. So he needs to be added and picked up just as a last resort option with PPR value in this Giants offense. Now, the last thing that I want to mention in this video is just backup running backs in general. And as I mentioned in the Trestan Ebner section, it's cuffing season now. Thanksgiving, holiday season, fantasy playoff season, any and all handcuffs need to be rostered, even if you don't have the starter on that team. And as of right now, there are still a handful of backups just chilling on tons of waiver wires out there right now that need to be added as we approach the fantasy playoffs. I mean, we literally just watched Samaje Perine put up 30 fantasy points on Sunday with Joe Mixon out, which just shows that injuries can happen to anybody and you need to be prepared. So I have a list of backups that are still out there on many waiver wires that I think need to be added immediately. And that includes the aforementioned Samaje Perine still out there on a lot of waiver wires, Zamir White, Dearness Johnson, Keontae Ingram, Rex Burkhead, Deion Jackson, Matt Breida, Jermichael Hasty, and DJ Dallas. If any of these players are on your waiver wires right now, you need to add these guys as the primary handcuffs to a lot of good starting running backs right now. And if you're looking for more moves to make after week 11, check out Justin's video right up here.